The dungeon gate is overrun with monsters. Ikoma is an awakened one. The SSS-ranked hunter, known as the Godspeed Sword, only wants to live as long as a leech. He chose a class focused on speed, specializing in the use of the gently stepping on the waves, which is the final profession of the assassin, because it has no effect other than increasing speed. He was abandoned by his teammates, but luckily Ikoma used the assassin profession. He got a time-reversing watch and returned to it 15 years ago. This time he decided not to live leisurely anymore. He will choose another class, the one who controls gravity. Just hearing the name makes this class sound so classy. On a clear moonlit night, with a cool breeze from 15 years ago, the world turned a new page, and on that fateful day, the first gate appeared, leading the way for monsters from the sea to this world. Some things that seem to only appear in games now have their latest version on the market, which are skills and levels. Thanks to these two things, some people have come up with crazy ideals to kill the monsters coming out of that gate. Such people will be called adventurers. Each adventurer will have their own fighting style, while mages are not flexible and magic is difficult to use outside of dying rates. Standing at the top is also the team's weight, if you don't fight properly with your moves. It is also because of this that our main character has chosen a character type related to speed or can be called a thief. Accumulating experience in life is the most important thing to reach the top of society. Applying this life principle, the main character has climbed to the top of adventurers. Some people called him by his nickname Godspeed Sword. Year after year, the destructive skill of monsters becomes more and more terrifying. Godspeed Sword has protected this country and the world by always fighting on the front lines, proudly like a white-headed eagle, working in a very strong team. On a beautiful day, a group of people gathered to talk about something. After a while someone made a decision to fire Ikoma from their glorious sword club for the reason that monsters are becoming stronger and stronger. But Ikoma's martial arts now cannot compete with one of them. Ikoma has no support or healing skills and can be said to be the team's weight. The other person continued, "The glorious time of thieves is over, now it's just the weakest character type and there's no chance to show off. Furthermore, Ikoma now doesn't hurt bosses, something even mages can do." The guild thought about removing Ikoma's S-rank adventurer title, but because he had many experience points they didn't remove it anymore. After hearing this, Ikoma defended himself. Although he has no fighting power, he will try his best and reduce the enemy's strength as much as possible. Outside of him no one is better at deceiving or poisoning everything. The others just smiled friendly, patted Ikoma on the shoulder and said use those skills in another universe and leave him behind and go away disappointed because he was kicked out. Ikoma became depressed all day, immersed in alcohol, tobacco. The more Ikoma thought about it, the more frustrated he was, working hard like an ox, dedicating himself to capital so that now he was no longer needed. He was kicked out without affection because he was not capable enough. So Ikoma sold 10 lots of equipment, so money in his house flew away now, even instant noodles he couldn't afford to eat. That guild also officially stripped Ikoma of his S-rank title, so he no longer had the right to enter that advanced gate. Feeling bored, his phone showed news that Glorious Sword Club had been sent to China and they had successfully conquered the palace. Ikoma looked at the netizens' comments section. In addition to congratulations, there were also many people mentioning Ikoma, but their words were not very nice in their eyes. He was just an obstacle. Ikoma widened his eyes and threw his phone aside. Ikoma was discouraged and complained, "Did I choose wrong?" The more he thought about it, the more frustrated Ikoma became. At night, Ikoma tossed and turned, unable to sleep because he didn't know what to do. At this moment, the phone rang with an emergency notification that an S-ranked monster was causing a disaster in Tokyo and the authorities were asking everyone to evacuate quickly. Ikoma was shocked. Now there was no one here who could defeat it. Ikoma knew that he could only hurt it a little, but with the spirit of a true adventurer burning within him, plus he had a lot of equipment left over, a burst of strength. Ikoma ran to where the monster was to fight. The monster was a Chronix dragon that controlled time, not facing the monster. Ikoma was not afraid. He bravely rushed forward to stop the monster, waiting for the strong adventurers to arrive so that the people could escape. The speed of that dragon was quite fast, and in no time it had broken Ikoma's large knife in his hand. Ikoma now became weaker. He could not get close to it like before. Ikoma took out the double poison dragon and threw it at the dragon, hoping it would absorb some of it, but the distance between his strength and its strength was too great. It quickly threw the poison back at Ikoma. Having nothing left to lose, Ikoma decided to take a big gamble. Ikoma used a skill he had called Assassin's Claw, which had the effect of stealing equipment from enemies. If this move succeeded, then Ikoma would have a chance to counterattack. But life is not like a dream. That dragon is still many times stronger than Ikoma. When he had not yet attacked it, it had attacked Ikoma first. Ikoma fell down, his eyes gradually blurred. Ikoma thought he was really too weak. At this moment of death, he secretly wished time would reverse and he would try to change things in a different direction. The sky seemed to have mercy on Ikoma, so he had the opportunity to reverse time with the broken watch of God, mythical time. Ikoma could use this watch to go back 15 years ago. At first Ikoma didn't believe much in this thing, but when he was about to dive for a real, Ikoma shouted, "Please reverse time." The watch in his hand glowed. Finally Ikoma woke up, picked up his phone, looked at it, then opened the curtains, looked outside, picked up the calendar and confirmed again that it was indeed 15 years ago. Ikoma immediately opened the status board to see that everything was empty. He smiled determinedly. This time he would become the strongest adventurer. While brushing his teeth and rinsing his mouth, Ikoma watched the news experts discussing the danger level of monsters. He himself resurrected and returned 15 years ago. Now Ikoma has an advantage of knowing what will happen in the future. But whatever happens, first of all, Ikoma still has to find himself a specific class to join. However, in order to choose a class, one must reach level 10, while low levels must go to that otherworldly gate to fight monsters to increase their level. This gate is carefully guarded by the strongest guild, so you have to show your papers when entering. After showing his papers, Ikoma was allowed into Gate F, Goblin Cave. When Ikoma hadn't even drawn his sword to fight Goblin, someone killed it for him. It was an uncle, because he knew Ikoma was new, so he helped him out. His name is O'Hara Kenzie, a level 16 swordsman whose job is here to protect and guide newbies in this dungeon. He also smiled and boasted, "Everyone also likes to call me a friend who likes to teach." But Ikoma ran out of words. However, he knew one thing, that this person was not bad. After that the two walked and talked, but mostly Kenzie talked while Ikoma just listened. After a while Ikoma killed a number of goblins. He got 6 EXP and officially leveled up to level 10 plus 2, more skill points added. Uncle Henry, seeing this, happily patted Ikoma on the back, praising him for doing very well. He also believed that with his current strength, in the future Ikoma would definitely become a famous adventurer after a while of training. Mr. Kendi also got to the main point. He told Ikoma that he could now choose the character he liked. He advised him to think carefully, and if he was too confused, he could ask him. When it comes to choosing a character, Ikoma becomes even more serious. The types of characters that can be chosen are based on skills and data stats. Currently, skills can be unlocked by spending SP on certain data stats. But now the remaining stats information of Ikoma is also quite modest: 30 firepower, 15 senses, magic enhanced swordsmanship is 5. Mr. Kendi continued to stand by, enthusiastically suggesting that Ikoma choose a swordsman, so he would have as much power as him. But less than 2 seconds later, he changed direction and said that the thief was also quite suitable for Ikoma. After a while of talking to himself, Mr. Henry came closer to Ikoma and saw that he hadn't chosen yet, so he thought he didn't know how to choose. And during training, the training group not only gave Ikoma speed and strength. 2 speed and strength can increase personal stats. At the present time these 2 skills are extremely necessary. Ikoma himself in the past had also collected them, but if the goal is to become the strongest adventurer, then focusing SP on those two skills is just a waste. For Ikoma, the skill that he dreams of every night is fall resistance. This skill reduces damage when falling from high places or being hit by gravity magic. To have this skill, Ikoma needs to spend 5 SP. Mr. Henry looked at Ikoma's choice and was horrified, because now these moves outside of Ikoma knowing their usefulness, everyone else thinks they are useless and rarely used. Just a second ago he warned to be careful when choosing, then a second later Mr. Henry was shocked by Ikoma's actions. Wanting to faint, Ikoma repeatedly used his SP to upgrade that fall resistance move. Mr. Henry's heart ached as if it had been cut, complaining that now Ikoma could only choose the swordsman or villager class. But Ikoma surprised him again with part 2. He pressed the button to choose the gravity controller, which is considered a mysterious class. This class only appears when all the earned SP is used to upgrade the fall resistance skill to level 10. Because of this strict rule, this class no one looks at, because besides this class is very difficult to use, even as Ikoma remembers then 15 after there was no research on it. But as an S-rank adventurer, Ikoma knew that the gravity controller was the strongest class. Seeing Ikoma about to press confirm to choose that class again, Mr. Kendi stopped him, advising him to choose a swordsman. But Ikoma treated those words like wind blowing past his ears, quickly pressed select and agreed with the gravity controller class. After pressing confirm, Ikoma received 2 new skills, gravity magic and gravity manipulation. Contrary to Mr. Kendi, who was sad because his advice was ignored, then Ikoma at this time was very excited because he got what he wanted. Ikoma determined this time he would become the strongest adventurer with this class, only then would he not have to face those terrible things. Outside of Ikoma, at this time everyone thought that melee characters were the strongest. A scream tore through the atmosphere. Mr. Kenzie turned around in shock to see someone being beaten by a level 17 red hat goblin lying on the ground. Mr. Kenzie quickly helped everyone. He didn't expect such a high-level goblin to appear here. Facing a strong enemy, Mr. Kenzie's heart sounded the alarm, telling him to run fast. But reason reminded him that this place was full of level 10 rookies and he was the strongest. Mr. Kenzie hesitated between choosing his heart or reason. In the end, reason won. He told Ikoma and everyone to run quickly, while he himself rushed forward, distracting that goblin. Seeing the sudden appearance of the red hat goblin, Ikoma was also very surprised. He thought Mr. Kenzie with his level 16 would be able to defeat that goblin, but after watching Mr. Henry fight with the goblin for a while, only defending and not counterattacking, Ikoma realized that Mr. Henry was not used to fighting monsters of equivalent level like this. After a while of fighting with the monster, Mr. Henry saw that it was not good, so he asked for help from everyone, but because the goblin was strong no one dared to stand up to help. Ikoma wanted to but couldn't because his level was lower than that goblin. He couldn't even catch up with its movements. If he accidentally rushed up, it would be game over right away. The stats of the gravity controller are too low. He hasn't had time to look at the newly collected skills. Remembering Mr. Kenzie's care for himself, Ikoma overcame his fear and bravely rushed forward to help, and Ikoma also wanted to take this opportunity to see the strength of the strongest class in the future. How if it really is weak? Then he doesn't need it anymore. The red hat goblin saw a new target and quickly rushed over. Ikoma quickly dodged its attack. Then with the gravity manipulation skill, Ikoma used the method of splitting gravity, increasing physical strength in a short time, gliding past the goblin like a breeze. With this technique, Ikoma can increase his own speed and easily control his own movements. The goblin continued to rush over, and this time Ikoma hit it with a blow across its stomach, causing Mr. Kendi to be surprised. The gravity controller is a class with strong physical strength. If there is enough mana, its potential strength is extremely strong, especially when facing low-level monsters with simple movements. With the gravity manipulation skill, Ikoma can control everything thanks to it. While Mr. Kendi was still shocked, Ikoma urged him to fight with him. Ikoma continued to use gravity magic to suppress gravity, making the Red Hat Goblin unable to move for a moment. Taking advantage of this moment, Mr. Kennedy rushed up and killed it with his sword. Thanks to this battle, Ikoma got an additional 28 EXP, leveled up to level 12 and added 4 SP. Seeing this scene, everyone around took turns discussing Ikoma, while Mr. Henry at present was still shocked. He knew thanks to Ikoma just now he could kill the goblin. Mr. Henry stared at Ikoma.